The Fueled by Death guest.
As we do with every single employee on this podcast, I always like to start where you started with this company. And I think this is a very interesting story because you really had to work hard to get a job here.
That's true.
Okay. So, I mean, like, tell a little bit about what it was like, what the company was like when you started working for Death Wish.
I want to hear how you started working for, like, how'd you hear about it? How'd you get sucked into working into a creepy basement?
Yeah, I had a very interesting journey leading up to that. I was in banking in Maine, and in Portland, Maine, which I love very much. And I was 24 years old, and I didn't like my life, didn't like where it was going. And I decided to leave everything. I had a band, I had a good job at a bank, that whole thing, like nice apartment, nice car, nice everything. And I said, you know what, I'm just not, this is not me. And so I decided to move back here to Saratoga, where my brother had a house, and I was going to stay here for a few months and then move out west. Got a job at a haunted hotel. That was cool, but it was really strange starting over.
Was that the Gideon?
The Adelphi.
The Adelphi,
yeah.
right.
And it was really strange starting over. You're 24 years old. A lot of people would be, really scared. And I wasn't afraid. I just knew I had better things to do than what I was doing.
Sometimes discomfort overrides fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always been I'm just going to open as many doors as possible. And one of them is going to be awesome, but I'm going to keep opening doors until I find the awesome one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was. And everyone around me said it was the worst decision I was making. My family, like everybody, like, what are you doing? I think
why'd they think it was such a horrible decision?
Because I was basically going to not have a job. Like, I interviewed for a job when I got down here, had nothing in, it looked like I was running away from something. Like, They thought, what happened? Like, am I going to see you on the news? Like, what the hell are you doing with your life?
You can't run from your problems, Kane.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? And
listen, people, you can run from your problems.
You can, as long as you keep running.
Don't ever stop.
Just don't stop.
So it was an interesting, time period, and the hotel season ended, so they closed down, and then I ended up on unemployment, which was really kind of humbling and also sobering. And at the time, everyone was right. Like, what am I doing? It's winter, and then I moved around to a bunch of different places.
Slept on my couch a bunch.
I slept on a lot of people's couches. Thank you to all you guys out there and all your awesome couches that are a little worse off than they were before I slept on them.
Don't worry, I got rid of that couch years ago.
Cool. Yeah. No, it was an interesting time of discovering myself. And so anyway, it was the very, very, very bitter winter we had around here. We had a couple of them in a row. And I was essentially had no money. Unemployment was keeping me afloat. I was looking for anything anybody out there had to offer me. I was just like, I was never jealous of anyone else. I was always just like, what are they doing? What are you doing? Do you have anything? Can I do anything at all? Can I help out? And Eric Donovan had been doing this part-time here in the basement when we were in Saratoga. And he was like, we just got mentioned on Good Morning America at the time, sometime during those months.
So this was after that.
This was after some
because we talked about that a little bit on the podcast, how this company kind of hit its first, success and failure with Good Morning America.
Oh man, that's a whole nother story. We'll get to that.
But so you started coming on after that had already transpired.
That had just transpired, and within a month or two. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was interesting time. And he's like, "Oh, come in. Do you want to come in for a few hours? Well, we'll take whatever we can get. You're literally gonna weigh coffee. You're gonna seal sticker. You're gonna do whatever. We have thousands of orders." And so I went in, and first day I think it was about 15 hours, and it's a small bit. I mean, this is not a great place to be.
No, not at all.
I still have nightmares that I'm locked in that basement.
I think I was in there for like 10 minutes, and I was like, "Yep, good. Let's go now."
It's one of those drop ceiling basements where you have to like almost duck. Because it's that,
and the part of the floor is not finished.
Yeah,
just waiting for spiders to drop on you.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It's a total. It was not fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I just said, this seems like something special. And I went to school for business. I know when something has a lot of potential, and this to me seemed like they're onto something, whether they don't even realize it. Like Mike didn't think there was going to be a company after that. And I kind of saw like the branding, the idea, the execution, the coffee. Like there was nothing out there for the world's strongest coffee at the time. So I literally just kept saying, "Can I come back? Can I come back? Can I come back? Can I come back?" And I did that for a few months before Mike was finally like, "All right, this is the team. we're going to get a warehouse, and we're going to see if we can sustain this thing.
So literally day in, day out, you're leaving the job thinking, I don't know if I'm coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, I was expecting not to at some point. He was just going to say no, but I kind of didn't let him say no, I guess. There was a lot of people coming in and out at the time, and I kind of just said, hey, I'll come back tomorrow, see you tomorrow, and then would walk out quickly before he could be like, wait a minute, what's your name again?
Who was that kid?
And I remember the first night I met John Swedish, because he came down we were like doing 24-hour shifts almost at the time, and then he came down, and he was playing on his cell phone, and he was like, this is my favorite song, and it was Crazy Bitch by Buck Cherry, and I was like, me and him are never going to get along. And I really thought about not coming back after that, because like, if I had to work with this guy and he's going to play that song all the time, then maybe it's not worth it.
Oh, man.
I'm glad I stuck through it.
Yeah.
And John,
How many times did you have to listen to Crazy Bitch?
I don't know. Like the fact that I had to say it and even hear it in my head now is too many times.
That's so great.
Oh, no.
So you started then, and from that point till now, one of the things I like to ask the employees is, what is it like from your standpoint, seeing the growth of this company? Is it something that you have to actually think back and look back on, or do you experience it as it happens? Because we have grown exponentially since that moment.
Yeah, and sometimes more than exponentially. It's insane. Just the story alone. I do try to think about it, but it's so tough when you're in it every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's really hard to reflect when you're still in that reflection period. And this is the thing you would look at, many years down the road.
Right.
And one day I'm sure I'll be able to, think of holy shit, we did that. So I do try to realize, some of the things that we were able to accomplish and have been able to accomplish. And it was crazy during that time. We didn't think there was going to be a company, because we got kicked off of Amazon. We got kicked off of eBay. We had a lifetime ban off of eBay.
Lifetime ban.
Yeah, it was like this weird, like, don't open that email.
Oh my God.
And
Wow.
it was like, you're never allowed to sell again. And eBay's crazy, which I didn't realize, is if they give you a lifetime ban or ban you, if you have family or friends try to sell what you're trying to sell, they'll ban them too.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
even if you're using a different email, everything.
What?
If they see you're connected in any way, and they will ban you too.
So the reason you were banned was because you had too many orders that you weren't able to fulfill?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was they were literal like piles of just paper, and we had to keep going to get more paper because they were just piled up, and everyone thought it was a scam. We had like at the time a really terrible website, and it said we'll ship within 5 days, and we were 3.5 weeks at a time being behind for a while.
Yeah.
So you kept on coming into work, and there was just piles of shit that needed to get done, and you just couldn't get through it fast enough?
There was no way to get through it because at the time, we eventually did, but at the time we would literally get what the person ordered, their shipping label, and it wasn't organized, so it would take a couple hours to find like, okay, the A's are here, the A's are this person's shipping label goes with this order, and then we would have to lay it all out on the floor like a map, and it was crazy. Like, this is going here and this is going here, and it looked like some serial killer shit. It was crazy.
How long did it take before you were like, all right, we have to have fulfillment, like we have to have a fulfillment center? Like,
that came after we realized that this was a sustainable company. So it was a couple months of doing that, and then we would do this thing where we would like get a pound of coffee, we would weigh the coffee out 1.04 because you had to count for how much. I'll never forget, you had to count for how much the bag weighed, and this is by hand. This is just like scoop boom 104 weight it, seal it, put a sticker on each side, roll it, tin tie, whatever, into a box, into a bag, into whatever, and it was just thousands and thousands and thousands of that, and it was insane. So when we realized that, we did awesome on the customer service side of things, where people knew like, okay, they're apologetic. This is, they call it Shark Tank syndrome now, I think, when a company gets shut down because of too much business.
Right.
They can't keep up and they end up getting shut down.
when you think about it, like the slow grow is a lot easier to deal with. Even like we were just talking about fulfillment, when you knew it was a sustainable company. Well, a company that slowly grows will find out it's sustainable at like a more manageable point.
Yeah, it was thrown into the fire. And then we, at the time, again, we were lifetime off of eBay, kicked off of Amazon, and Mike's was just like, we're going to get through this time period.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, that's it. And so once we realized that, we refunded a ton of people. we figured out ways to at least get some of those customers back, and then orders kind of just kept coming in. So we spent the rest of that year kind of figuring out, okay, let's get a warehouse, let's see what happens. And it wasn't as crazy, but at least we have like a lot of contacts, and a lot of people have tried it, and we can kind of keep reaching out to those people that have already bought. And so in 2014, in January, we decided, okay, we built the roof first.
Right.
So now we need to figure out how to build the basement and the foundation.
So a question on that. Let's say there's somebody listening and they're starting a company that's dealing with this Shark Tank syndrome, as you call it. What do you think the best piece of advice for dealing with that giant influx? How to manage that? What do you think would be the best thing to focus on?
I would say not to get discouraged, because a lot of people get discouraged in that time, and like we could have easily, been like, all right, that's it.
Yeah,
it was a good run. But I think it depends on what the business is, honestly, because there's been like some cupcake people and people that just can't. They just were way in over their head to accept the idea.
You can only make so much cupcakes.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources. What you don't realize is there's a lot of resources out there, and Google's your best friend.
Totally.
So you have to figure out, okay, this is where we are right now. What do we need? I can do this much in this many hours. How do I double that? Okay, let's bring some more people in. Let's do an overnight thing. Let's figure it out. And just plan and strategize once that happens, and not get discouraged. And then just try to figure out at that point, you do have a platform. You have lots of people. Hopefully you retain their information via their emails, whatever you can of them. Hopefully you have, at that point, you're able to get that. And then you have a community at that point. You have a Rolodex of, customers that have already bought, and then try to reach out to them and capitalize on that, and just really deliver the best possible customer service. Because if they see you going above and beyond, they'll likely say, okay, I'll give him another shot. The little guy won. And that's essentially what happened. And just not being afraid to ask for help, I think, was Mike's best thing. He was literally pulling in people out of his coffee shop and just saying, do you want to come? Like, a lot of people wouldn't do that. A lot of people would just be like, okay, we got 3 people. We got to get through this. Like, you don't have to do it alone. And don't be afraid to ask and reach out. Like, we reached out to a lot of companies and just said, what have you done? Like, and they'll usually, more times than not, give you answers and give you advice and help you out. I mean, people are, especially in small business, you're already against so many odds.
I think people get caught up in micromanaging, and that's why they're afraid to ask for help, because they're afraid to leave any responsibility in anybody else's hand. Where I think that's Mike's best attribute as far as like having a boss, because he does not micromanage, and he has a good team around him, and he knows that, and he's able to leave everybody to do the things that they need to do, which is amazing.
Yeah. So you started out, basically just packing, and helping out wherever you could, but that has, that was years ago, and now with the company, you kind of touched upon this a little bit. You have a lot of hand in customer service, as well as many different facets of this company. Can you talk a little bit about what your role is now?
Yeah. Well, when I kind of have always been the whatever we need kind of person. So
the utility knife.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I've done everything from the bottom of the bottom all the way to where I am now. And it was kind of like whatever the company really needed that no one else was able to focus on, I would take that project on. So the first big thing was the person who kind of started with Mike ended up leaving the company a couple years ago, and she had ran customer service to a point, which is basically just answering emails and making sure that orders got fulfilled and all that. So when she left, Mike's like, yo, do you want to take over this for a couple weeks until we figure something else out? And I was like, well, I have all this experience with offices and
banking,
and I literally did customer service. I have all this crazy executive level customer service stuff because we were in like call centers, and I know how all this shit works.
Right.
I can make this awesome.
Yeah.
And so I developed an entire customer service department, responses, how we handle things. Mike had already had the no bullshit guarantee. So no matter what, you don't like it, we'll give you your money back or give you something else off the website.
Still exists today.
It still does. And so it was easy to kind of capitalize on that once we had some of those ideals in place and philosophies, like customers always right, but way more than that. Like sometimes even when they don't think they're right, we'll reassure them.
No, you're right.
You're awesome.
You're super right.
So that was kind of the first big one. And then we ended up through like the surveys and stuff that we send out, we ended up in like top tier customer service in the country for companies.
Wow.
Which is pretty awesome. And now we have a great team, Sierra, Cade, and Christine. And Cade's kind of been taking over like a more of a supervisor role, and it's allowed me to focus on other projects, like our subscription platform, our loyalty program, things that really drive what customers want. For a while they wanted a good subscription service. We didn't have a good one or anyone at the time, so we've tried a few different ones out, and that was like a big, huge project, and now that's doing very well. And we're able to offer things through that now. Just recently, like all the freebies, which people hated that you couldn't get freebies, and I totally agreed with them, but there was no easy way to do it. So we finally figured out a way to do it. We teamed up with a couple awesome companies to make that happen. So that's awesome now. So just delivering value, exceptional service is kind of what we've been doing. And on top of that, just like events and I don't know. There's so many things. It's hard to name them all now. But especially when you have like the Super Bowl thing in there, and like all that. It's like it's been such a crazy few years.
It really has.
It really feels like a different lifetime. Like everything, my life is broken up is like pre-Death Wish and now. And it's two totally different lives at that point. It's crazy. But,
I know one of the things that actually I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you actually spearheaded with this company is an event that's coming back around this year that we've actually talked about a little bit on this podcast, the Run Dead event. And that you had a lot to do with this, right?
Yeah, well, the cool thing about this company is you can just kind of do whatever you think is going to be cool, as long as you figure out a way to make it happen. And
welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Google calls that 20% time. You get 20% of your time to make a project happen, which is a very cool thing. Because then it's like you can spearhead something that's like you're going to be super into it, so you're going to deliver it. And so from a business standpoint, it's like it's not trying to find someone to do the job they don't really want to do.
Right.
And it's going to be something cool. So one of the things I really wanted to focus on was we had a really big voice during and after the Super Bowl push.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to get more into like charitable things. And it's tough with charities and Death Wish.
Yeah,
because
totally.
of the name. But Special Olympics are something we can definitely get behind. And they're athletes.
Yeah.
They just have some disabilities mentally. But so we decided to partner with them for the Run Dead event. Last year was the second one we did where we actually knew how it worked. And I believe they had a goal of $25,000 or $30,000, and so I had a good idea. Like we sell these mugs. Mugs always do really well. So why not do a special edition mug? We cover the costs, and all the proceeds, 100% go to this charity.
Wow!
So it's like we don't have, it gets the people involved. It gives them a collectible thing. They can see it. They can remember it. We get to support it, and we ended up raising I think $18,000 off that mug sale. And our Run Dead team, headed by CJ, awesome dude, CJ.
Oh yeah,
shout out to
huge
CJ.
Supporter. He was so incredible. I think he raised like $6,000 or $7,000
Yeah,
himself.
he pushed so hard. He worked so hard, man.
It was crazy.
So cool to see that.
And so we ended up raising like $31,000 between us and the team. So this year we're doing it even bigger. We got more mugs. We're going to raise the price a little bit to get some more money for the Special Olympics. So don't go complaining, people.
And the mug's a little bit bigger.
The mug's, and that's what I think. Like the mug's a little bit bigger, and I think that because we're raising the price, that just means we want to give more to we want to give more value to the people that are getting the mug, but we also want to give more to the charity that we're raising all this money for, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, and so it's an easy way for us to be connected. And then my goal this year is $50,000 between us and the team. And we had people flying out from like Chicago and all types of places to run in the event. This year they're doing it a little different. They're doing like
it's a treasure
hunt, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And they told us that the event was dead before we got involved. I mean, no pun intended.
Well,
but
it was dead in the water
dying,
pretty much. Yeah.
And they didn't know what to do. And Carolyn had just taken it over from the Special Olympics, and she's like, zombie thing is kind of fading a little bit, that fad. And there's so many 5Ks everywhere.
Right.
Yeah,
there's literally one every weekend. Yeah.
Especially in the fall. And there's all these new creative cool ones like Color Me Rad and all these crazy things.
There's actually a zombie one where people chase you as zombies.
That's what this one was.
This was.
But people were getting broken bones.
Oh my god!
Because I don't know whose idea this was, but they decided to do a flag. So you wore flags, and the zombies
Had
caught
to,
the
like,
the
flag football
yeah,
kinda
yeah,
thing?
You're
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
was just like people just tackling,
Oh,
and ripping flags.
That's
and
what
like,
flag football always turns into.
Really
Tripping
does.
and tackling.
It was,
really
and people literally got broken bones.
Flags are always easier to strip off a downed opponent.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Just-
That's
Yeah,
the way
true.
it is.
especially when you just grab the belt and throw them down, and then take both flags and stuff them in their mouth. And
We're not
whatever else.
condoning this, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was so anyway, they had to do it a little differently. So we'll see what happens. We're expecting it to be pretty cool. It was way too early last year, the last couple years, and I was like, you know what? Why don't we do something different, like a treasure hunt type thing? Why don't we do it a little later in the day? Because everyone's hungover on, not everybody, but
Lots of people are.
lots of people are.
Lots of people named Kane are
Yeah,
hungover.
there was plenty of our fans that showed up, and they were like,
Well, it's
still drunk.
It was a gathering of people who had met for the first time, or who
Right.
It's like a reunion, so they
Yeah.
were out the night before, celebrating each other, and it makes
Yeah.
it a little bit rougher the day after. But
So we had to make it later. So I think this year it starts at noon, I believe. And we're going to do a cool after event. It's going to be an awesome day, and it's a great thing. It's a great cause. If you can't make it, there's plenty of ways you can help out and donate.
Facebook.com/RunDead. All the
Run
info
Dead.
right there.
Yep. And we have a team, so make sure you find that. CJ's running it again because he
Yep.
did such a great job last year. And, if you can make it out, it's a good time to come out. We'll hang out with you, hook you up with some stuff. We'll be friends. We'll have some drinks. We'll drink some coffee, and it'll be a great time. So
no tackling this time, I promise.
Not during the event, but
I'm
it's
excited.
a long day after that.
I'm excited to be part of a company that can be part of events like that, and do things that are a little bit outside the box, but and it's cool that you were actively looking to do that for this company. I think that's excellent. But getting away from Death Wish a little bit, Death Wish, it's funny how you said like your life before Death Wish and your life now, but you live a very full life. We've known each other for a while, so I can say that, and you have a lot of extracurricular as well. I want you to talk a little bit about, you have a pretty extensive musical background.
Yeah.
Like, what got you into music?
I don't even know.
Because you started out actually in Maine as a young kid when I knew you when you were younger.
was before that.
And you got into the hip hop scene.
I got into the hip hop scene. So speaking of hip hop, shout out to Jamie Robinson and
Yeah.
Throwback Thursday.
DVD.
Thank you for the mug, man. It's
Heck
great.
yeah.
If you have a chance to listen to them, they have an awesome podcast all about, actual awesome hip hop. Not the crazy mumble shit that I saw at SPAC the other night.
Yeah.
with
Oh, yeah,
Future and
no.
Post Malone. Sorry if you guys are fans of that. That's cool, but it was terrible. And yeah, so I've always been very, very much into music. I know that's cliche, but there's pictures of me all as a baby, just with huge headphones on, and every time a certain Clash song would come on, I would get up and just start rocking my head. And ever since, like, the best Christmas present I ever got, I was 8 years old, and my father got me a purple boombox cassette player, no CD, and it was just like I literally tried paying him for it. And he was like, Santa Claus brought it. I'm like, Dad, I know Santa Claus isn't real.
Aw.
What's my allowance? You can just take it out of it. I was so happy I wanted to pay him for it.
Aw.
And I wore that thing out. And then I got a Walkman and all that. And I was just always obsessed with music. And I used to, I'm lucky enough to, I turned into a front man. I used to, when I was a really young kid, I would put like a baseball bat into my dresser drawer, and I would have another baseball bat, and I would emulate all my favorite. My parents would leave, and I would just turn the music way up, and I would do my own concert with like my favorite 15 songs. That's a long concert, 15 songs. Yeah, I
Wow,
would do that, like, hour and a half, and like shout out to the crowd, and it was so lame. But I was always obsessed with it. And when I was in Virginia, in Newport News, Virginia, which is aka Bad News, Virginia. It's a terrible, terrible place.
Yeah.
There was a lot of freestyle rap, and I was between 10 and 11, and I saw all these kids at lunch just rapping, and like, that's the coolest effing thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, what the hell is that about? And I was always really quick-witted, and I was a good poet, and I was writing a lot of poetry, and I was writing songs. I got my first guitar at 12. And so I was writing really terrible songs about all the things I was mad and sad about. I started learning how to do that, and I was like, I could do that. That sounds awesome. I moved back to here in 8th grade, and I got really good at it. And I started through 8th through 12th grade. I became like the kid in high school that did that. And if anyone thought they could, there was nothing you could do. I would just destroy kids. And then 8 Mile came out. Everyone thought they could like freestyle rap.
Oh yeah.
It was hilarious.
For those who don't know, 8 Mile was actually based on Kane's life.
Yes, it was. I gave the credit to Eminem, but you're welcome.
Kane Rabbit.
Kane Rabbit. No, but
It was his sweater.
yeah.
With the spaghetti on it. That was the sweater.
My
Yeah.
mom's still waiting. She's still ready. But then I moved to Maine, and I really wanted to do hip hop. I wanted to front a band like the Roots, and I kind of got away. I really hated what I was doing musically at the time because I was doing a lot of like rap shit, and I wanted to do something better. So I threw away everything I had, and I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to try to figure something else out. And I started doing like really cool kind of like Mos Def style, Talib Kweli, backpack rap stuff over really cool beats and things like that. And it wasn't really taking off, and I was always good at the freestyle thing. And so I had some people that kind of brought me back into that, and I started doing competitions up there on like a local college radio station. People would call in and vote, and I won for like the whole year.
Wow.
And there was a point where it'd be like they would put 2 kids on me, like one against 2, which was really, really cool. And people would call in and vote, and I won for like a whole year in a row. And then I started the Eclectics, which you were a big part of.
Yeah.
You play violin.
I think I've played with pretty much every iteration of your musical career.
Yeah, pretty much. And so that was cool, and it ended up turning into like a 12-piece hip-hop soul band.
That was
fun. Which was neat, which we're actually trying to finish up the follow-up to that record that I put out as I was moving away from Maine. And then I moved back here, and I'd always wanted to do kind of rock and roll music. Or some iteration of that. So I started writing songs for that, which became the band that we're all in, Angels on the Fourth.
Yep.
And now I'm kind of just, I got a bunch of different records I'm working on right now, which may see the light of day, probably won't.
It's interesting to me for someone who, puts so much into their day job, but then also you have this affinity to put so much into this kind of what you love, music and stuff, because like you've said, you've been in multiple bands, you've been in multiple projects, you are now getting into producing and like being behind the board and behind the artist kind of thing, which is really cool. So I think that's I think that's very inspiring that you can have a very full life with lots of different things in it. I think that's interesting.
And it's cool when you get to tie all those things together and then do something good with it. So I've always been a very good songwriter. So I started helping out this kid called Kenny Kakady recently, and I produced and helped him write some of the stuff and produce his whole first record.
Yeah.
And I met them. It was the 3 cutest kids in the world. They're 9, 11, and at the time Kenny was 13, and the drummer's 9, and he's adorable,
nasty,
and he's incredible, and he's
Yeah.
like the cutest. He's like smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. He's like, you can tell he's just trying to count, but he can't really count yet, like that. And it's the cutest thing. And they wanted to do. They had been playing and performing for a while, which is pretty ambitious.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
kids.
totally.
But they wanted to do something for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, the LLS. They do a fundraiser here in March. So his father, the president of Poker Central, which we work with, asked me if I would come and help his kids maybe, co-write a song and figure, see if they can come up with their own song. And we ended up doing that. You both were actually on that song, which is really awesome. It's called 7 Days Today. And it ended up getting a bunch of buzz, got a couple million views. It ended up raising like $60,000. So that was really cool. And it kind of got me into this whole, I've always kind of helped people out, and, I've done beats and stuff like that, but it got me into I can actually help people write songs, and I can help bring their vision to life. And we booked the studio, booked musicians, and now we have a tangible thing. And this kid's 14, and he's the happiest he could ever be. And I can't imagine if I would have had that when I was that age, what I would be doing. My life would be totally different now. But he's got it's really cool to work with kids and kind of give back. And you guys can do it. And I don't treat them like children. We talk to them like adults, and they perform, and we're going to keep working, together. And
That's exciting.
It's really cool.
So, I mean, you've got kind of the same ethic when it comes to what you do with Death Wish and what you do outside of it. It's this idea that you will, if there's a job that needs to do, you're going to give it a shot, and you're going to try it. What fuels you as a person to continue to do that, to wake up every morning and to kind of attack a day like that? What fuels you to do that?
I guess just not being complacent. I like to be excited. I like to like life. Like there's this rapper in Maine called Spose, really cool, really awesome dude, and he released a new record called "Good Luck with Your Life," and he's got kids now, and he's done. He's been to the bottom, and he was signed, and he did a whole bunch of shit. But he's got a quote in there that says, "If life sucks, stop sucking at life," and it's like. Huh. Totally blew my mind, and I thought about that for a while, and I was just like, yeah, that's so true, because you have so many people that just make excuses, or if someone's got something that they don't have, they don't know why, and everything is everyone else's fault.
The best way to suck at life is not do anything.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in, because they're afraid to fail. So they don't do anything, because then they're not technically failing, but that's the biggest failure of all.
I agree, and it is scary, but it's like, you can always do something else.
And part of excitement from day to day is learning new things, going into places that you've never discovered before, or never experienced before, and that takes going out on a limb, takes risk.
It does, and risk is the only. I mean, risk and reward, they're synonymous for a reason. They are. Yep. You have to risk to get what you want. And you can kind of mosey. I know so many people, and it sucks. There's some of them are friends of mine, who just like kind of just trudge, through the mud.
Yep.
And they wake up, they eat breakfast, they go to work, they come home, they make dinner, they watch TV, they go to bed, they wake up, they make breakfast, they go to work, they come home. On the weekend, they do their chores, and whatever the hell they have on their laundry list, and that's their life. And then they'll plan a vacation, and it's just like, and they're not happy. They're not necessarily miserable, but they're definitely not happy. And there was this interesting survey that was taken from people of all different economic classes, people that made less than $40,000, or $20,000, $40,000, $100,000, $200,000, millions, whatever it is. And it was like basically asked like a couple questions: how happy are you wake up? How happy are you when you go to sleep? And it was just like the really, really, really rich people were like in the mid, they weren't that happy, because the guys were just counting a lot of, they were just always kind of had it, and they were counting every dollar that they had and spent, and that wasn't a way to be happy. And the really, really poor people weren't happy either, because everything on their mind was, are my lights going to get shut off? Right. But it was the people kind of, just above that were the happiest. And it was, they figured out, they went for their goals. They like what they're doing. They've tried things. They've taken risks. They do what they want. You can always do something different. You can just keep opening doors, keep trying to do shit. I think a part of that too, in that pay grade, is that there's so much more to open up and discover and achieve. Yeah.
Where like if you're at the top and you've achieved everything that you think you need to achieve, it gets pretty boring and unhappy. Where I think even if you're at the top, you still need to challenge yourself to be the person in the middle.
Totally.
And
totally agree.
To find an area where you can have more achievement, because the financial achievement is not the end all be all, is what we come to find out.
It's really what, like I said, I just want to be excited.
Yeah.
It's just like doing whatever it is, whether it's my music or hanging out with my friends or like doing cool stuff, trips, traveling. Like I used to say no to a lot of things.
Me too.
And they, to the point where I would even make plans and cancel the plans, because it's just like, I just don't really feel like doing it.
Shout out to a bad calzone.
They literally, okay, so, so one time,
love you, buddy.
I had canceled plans so many times in a row, and this current excuse I had was I ate a bad calzone. So my awesome friend started calling me Bad Calzone Kane.
Yeah,
it was
anytime he cancels anything, he's like, must have had a bad
calzone.
But I was in the same boat. I was in a point in my life.
Hold on. Do you think you would ever purposely eat a bad calzone to cancel plans? Did that ever happen?
No.
You're like, I don't want to do this. Let me eat this.
I don't honestly know if I've ever had a bad calzone. I love calzones.
There we go. But I was in the same point in my life at one time where I said no to a lot of things, and I would cancel plans, and I just kind of would wallow through the mud, like you said, and you kind of have to hit a moment in your life, and you have to be able to look at it from outside and go, why am I not saying yes to these things? Like why am I not saying yes to everything?
And a common theme with people that aren't happy, I guarantee, if you ask them to do something, they'll make an excuse of why they can't.
Yeah.
Or ask them anything, whether it's something fun or something to do, anything at all.
They started out with,
well,
Right,
I don't know. I
right.
don't know about that. Like, I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm tired today. Like a lot of times people are just tired. So figure out ways to not be tired.
Anytime you hear yourself say, well, check yourself.
Yeah.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself because you're just making excuses that aren't actually in existence.
It's the truth.
Just start saying yes. Ever
Yeah.
since I started doing that, so many opportunities open. I met so many people. I've done so much cool stuff, and it was just a matter of just saying yes. An
Just saying
opportunity.
yes to it.
And I always say yes, and then try to figure out the consequences. Like I'll say if something happens, it's like I might not be able to afford that. I'll figure out how to afford it.
Right.
But it's just like, and I remember we used to have these talks, and it was like, yo, just start saying yes. Let's just do it. You'll figure it out. You're gonna have fun. You're not gonna remember the extra hours you work to be able to do it, but
Right.
you're gonna remember the memory of
Right.
that thing you did.
Yeah.
And that's what's gonna stay with you. On my business card, we all have these quotes, and
Yep.
and mine says, "No one looks back at life and remembers the nights they got plenty of sleep."
That's the truth.
And it's totally true. So and I still do that to this day. And you just keep saying yes. And it's obviously within reason. Don't do anything that's
Yeah.
gonna set you back or
Right.
get you in trouble.
I've been living like that for quite a while, and I think the times I say no, it's like, okay, I need to catch my breath for a second.
I need a break.
I've said yes way too many times.
And you actually inspired me and Mike with that. You're like, would Kane in a movie do that? Or
Yeah,
Kane
if
in
you're
a movie
watching
go to
yourself,
bed?
Yeah, you don't want to be your boring self.
Right.
Nobody wants to see that, including yourself. So
Yeah, and if and the Army actually had a commercial. I remember, no, it stuck with me forever. But it was, if your life was a book, would you read it? And it was like,
yeah, that's actually good too, though.
shout out to the Army.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Finally,
I love the Army.
a topic that's been starting to bubble up in this office for a while, and
gossip.
actually, the last employee that we had on, Anthony,
Fired. Anthony's fired.
we talked a lot about this with him. Actually, even Zach Wild was on a recent episode, and we talked about this a little bit with him too. And it's something that I know that you're very excited about. Football season is upon us. And you love football, right? You're like, that's like your sport. Like that's what you love to
Yes.
enjoy.
Yeah.
What's
I
your
think
team?
The Oakland Raiders.
The Oakland
Shout out to
Raiders.
Bobby Johnson.
The Vegas Raiders.
Soon.
Very soon.
And I'm okay. I'm one of the people that are okay with that.
I think it's cool.
It's
I
cool
like
for
change.
lots of reasons. And it does suck for the fan base, and it sucks anytime a team relocates or your favorite star leaves your team or whatever it is. But it is business, and they wouldn't give them a stadium. Like the Raiders are playing on I don't know if you guys know this, but they've been sharing the Angels, which is our baseball team. So half the year they're playing on a legit baseball field, which is terrible.
no.
It's like literal dirt.
Right.
Half the field in the
Right.
middle, you see like
No.
Derek Carr throwing from home base.
Yeah.
You know,
Come
like
on.
it's terrible. And so the owner,
Well, that's gonna take a 180 for them, huh?
Oh,
They're gonna
yeah.
go from like the dirt to
Yeah.
just this,
AstroTurf, probably.
this
Yeah.
amazing
stadium,
field.
and it's an old stadium, and they like, we don't want to play in a baseball field anymore, and the town wouldn't okay for whatever reason, just wouldn't give them the stadium they wanted, and so
We're too busy fighting crime.
but it sucks because it's the Golden State Warriors are there, they're
Right.
in Oakland, so it's becoming a cool sports city and a cool thing to be around. But at the end of the day, you need to have the facilities there. You got to feel good when you're home. And they're moving to Vegas, and I'm stoked because, besides barring people that actually live in Oakland and go to Oakland Raiders games, more people than not are not going to go to Oakland to see a football game. They're going to go to Vegas to see a football game.
true.
I'm going to go to Vegas every year to see a football game, and that place is going to be roaring.
Does Vegas
It's
have
going-
any teams right now?
No, they
No.
haven't had a professional sports team because of gambling.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is the first time they're allowing it.
So they're gonna allow you to gamble on the Vegas
Well,
Raiders.
you can always gamble in on sports in Vegas, but
Right.
that's why it's too much corruption. They didn't sports team, baseball, basketball,
you think
football.
they're gonna run into that issue now that they're bringing in a football team?
It's tough, and that's going to be a cool thing to ask some of those guys, because they apparently love Death Wish. So their tight ends coach we had reached out to us, and he sent us a bunch of stuff, and it was awesome. It was
I
like
wear some
Christmas.
Raiders. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're a Raiders fan?" I was like, "Nah, I just know them."
Yeah, they're our friends. But it was cool, and it'd be cool to ask them what they think about it. But it's something the NFL is definitely concerned with.
They're definitely gonna. I mean, at least they should have like some really close monitoring and regulation as far as that goes to make sure
Of course,
that
and
right off the bat it doesn't start corrupt.
I'm not even worried about the corruption. I'm worried about like just the players not being able to like go to bed ever, 'cause their home is in Las Vegas
Yeah,
now.
that's
It's
true.
like Las Vegas is a city that I can take 3 days at a time, and then I need to never go back.
And here's the thing: football is notorious for head injuries, and head injuries are notorious for gambling.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. It's
I wonder.
very true.
I wonder what kind of effect we're going to see there. It's going to be insane, man.
So real quick,
they
then.
just want the players there to start gambling like crazy. They're going to make their money back.
They are going to make their money back.
So real quick, what's your prediction for this year? Are the Raiders going to go all the way and go to the Super Bowl?
Well, first of all, I think that being the reigning fantasy football Death Wish champ.
Are you calling every single person out in this office right now?
Yeah, I won last year.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
can do that.
Okay.
I should do that. There was like 17. We have like weekly and monthly meetings.
Eric said you don't stand a chance this time.
Oh,
he keeps
Eric
on
Donovan.
telling me that every morning.
He did win the first 2 years.
Okay.
That's true.
He
But,
said he wasn't even trying this year. He's going to try, and he's going
Okay,
to smash
good.
you to dust.
I think it should end in a fist fight.
I'll fight him right now. Bring him in here. Let's do it.
Please welcome our special guest.
No!
No,
With a knife.
but for real, in the actual
I think
in the
Raiders
actual
will
league,
do good.
you
I think no one stands a chance against the Patriots.
Yeah, you
They're
think
not-
they still have got that echelon?
They are better this year than they've probably been since Randy Moss was on their team with their
Wow.
receiving, with everything they got going on. The number one tight end in the entire NFL was hurt for most of last year, and they still won a Super Bowl. Like, they're going to get him back. They just got another star receiver in Brandon Cook. They got better somehow after winning. Tom Brady will have just as many Super Bowls after this next year as any team in the entire NFL. Which is crazy.
That's crazy.
He's it just shows you, and he lost 2.
Yeah.
So he's I think the best ever, and
Wow.
I think they'll win again. So I'm excited for him to retire.
So it's the Patriots. Who are they going to play in the Super Bowl?
Patriots, I think they'll play. Oh, it's tough.
Giants.
I don't think
I
that
would
can happen.
I think the Giants are going to be awful. Sorry, Eric, but not sorry,
I don't know how
Eric.
football works, by the way.
Yeah,
I just named a team.
Yeah, I don't
Boston
know.
Red Sox.
I'd love to see a rematch of the Falcons Patriots last year. I think they'll play someone. I think the Packers will get there.
That was quite a game
all
last year,
right,
too.
all
That
right.
It was
so
the
weird.
it was the craziest comeback of all
Everybody
time.
wrote it off, and then it just totally
Yeah,
flipped.
I did. I went home halfway through, and then I get home, and it's like,
Everybody
wait,
did.
they're coming back somehow.
That's so crazy.
The real question is when is Death Wish Coffee going to be back in the Super Bowl?
Oh man, it's real easy to have a Super Bowl commercial when someone buys it for you.
That's for darn sure. That is for darn
Everyone
sure.
always asks if it was worth it. Was it worth having a Super Bowl commercial? I'm like, when it's free.
Yeah, when you win a
Hell yeah.
contest.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for taking time to talk to us. Finally, is there any social media of your own that you want to shout out for people to follow you on? I mean, I know a lot of people don't,
Honestly,
put themselves out there
I'm gonna
sometimes.
pass this one off just so he can maintain his sanity. Just follow Mike Brown on Twitter.
There you go.
He's like weirdly obsessed with it.
In fact, if you follow Mike Brown DWC on Twitter, just ask him questions about Kane.
Oh, yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, and he'll answer all your Kane related questions on Twitter. That's
also,
awesome.
hold on one second. Let me pull. I'm gonna give you a phone number to text.
Oh no.
Everyone out there, please text this number any time of the day, and this person will talk to you. It's 518-495-1817.
Yes.
Please send him text messages. He really wants them.
Yes, he sure does. Awesome, man. Well, as always, it's really fun to talk to you on a podcast. This is not our first time doing this. We've gotten to do this a couple times,
Thanks,
but
guys.
it's the first time on Fueled by Deathcast. So thanks so much, man.
Awesome. Today was fun. Thanks.
Cheers.
This has been Fueled by Deathcast, a Death Wish Coffee Company podcast production. Thanks for listening.